What's up, and welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How is your day?
How was your week?
How is your life?
Going. And make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. And when you guys go there, you'll see all the ways that you can share the podcast, follow the podcast, all of our social media at Opposite Pod. The best thing you can do, like we've said, is sharing this with somebody that you know, share a clip with them, and let them know about the podcast.
Yes. Sharing is caring.
That's right. What's up, babe?
What's up, yo?
We're back.
I know.
Feels like it's been a long time between this one, too.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does.
Because that's what happened last time, right? You were at your event, and it felt this one more than last time, just because I've been away the whole week.
Yeah. It's always, I appreciate every time you leave, it gives me an appreciation for having such a supportive husband.
What you mean?
Because I realize, like, when you're gone,
that I do stuff?
Yes.
That I actually do stuff?
No, it's shout out to all the single women and to all the single fathers out there. Because it is more challenging. Both of the kids had curriculum night, meet the teacher. I couldn't attend Audrey's because they had them on the same night, same time.
Yeah.
And then taking them like to jujitsu, working on the retreat, making sure the house stays clean, cooking for the kids. I mean, feeding the dogs, the cat. I mean, just even though the kids help with that, you know, but it's just like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
And I was extremely busy, especially because what I had going on, you know, throughout the week, and really focusing on, I do this with everything in my life now, is being present and being aware. So having that, it takes time as well. So like if the kids are like talking to me, it's like, okay, stop what you're doing and listen to what they're telling you. So when you practice being present, you know, multitasking is out the window, you know, so it's just, it takes more time
to be proud of that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I could do this and I could do that and I could do this at the same time.
I know. And then I don't remember shit because I was not even there. Like it was like my body was on autopilot, like just doing. I was a doer versus a spiritual being. Yeah. Just being present, you know, and listening when you are a multitasker. There is no damn listening. Your husband will be talking to you and you're doing something and you have no idea what the hell he's saying. You're just like, and I know I have a bunch of women right now laughing their asses off because that was me. And a lot of women are known for multitasking.
Yeah, that's when, as a husband, if you notice, you just start switching up the conversation to random ass shit. And they're like,
Yeah, and there's times where I'll catch myself where I'm not being present, like with Joey and Audrey or something, right? Like I'm in the middle of something though, like reading a book or working on something, and then they just walk in the door
but that
and
is
start
a thing
blah,
too.
blah, 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 blah. But if it's something that I need to hear, then
you're gonna miss
I'll
it.
put the book down and take a listen. Or if I catch myself in thought, and they're talking to me and I'm like, wait, what did you say? I'll tell them, wait, what did you say? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Yeah. And then I'll stop doing what I'm doing. Like for instance, today I was writing a post and you had something to say. And I said, baby, hold on. Let me finish this.
Yeah.
Cause I was caught up in thought and you're like, okay. But before I would just pretend like I'm listening to you.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, whatever, mother.
But it's a constant fight, right?
Yeah.
It's a constant fight, even with you. Like I can tell when you're tuned out. I'll even ask you, hey, where are you right now?
It is tough though, because sometimes it is like we've talked about this before. It's like those levels of communication, and we're trying to have different levels with each other,
right.
And the other one's not trying to have that. Right? Because we got shit going on. It's like, all right, I'm trying to fucking focus on the work that I'm doing, and you're telling me about the jujitsu move or whatever. And then you're telling me about, I had this spiritual and I saw, sparkles or something one time.
Sparkles.
And I was like, I'm trying to get this episode done or, whatever. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But at the same time, there are moments where you should just pay attention to what's happening or what's coming at you.
Yes.
Right? Yesterday, speaking about being present, this is what I forgot. I forgot to write this down. But yesterday we had one of those moments. I had a moment where I just kind of like noticed what was happening. And we were just all laying down upstairs watching the Whitney Houston movie on Netflix with,
Audrey. It was Miguel, I, and Audrey.
Because I was
staying the night at a friend's.
And like I said, I just got back from traveling. So I've been away for 5 days. And I was working on some stuff, and you and Audrey went upstairs and started watching the Whitney Houston movie on Netflix. And I went up there and I laid down with you guys. Mm-hmm. And then at some point I had my arm around you and I had my arm around Audrey and I was holding her hand, and we were just all laying there.
Yes.
And for a moment there, I just kind of like stopped watching or thinking about the movie and just thought about the three of us laying there,
That's awesome. So speaking of your return, like I said, it was super busy. So we didn't talk as much. Yeah. And you were super busy too with what you were doing. And I knew you were coming home Friday. So I scheduled one call in the morning. And then I'm like, okay, I'm free the rest of the day. And so I brushed my hand on my leg and I'm like, ooh. I'm like, you have not shaved. And if you haven't shaved your legs, nothing else is shaved. Yeah. I'm like, I'm starting to look like Chewbacca. And he's coming home today. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go prepare myself for him. And I knew what time you were coming home. And I knew the kids were not going to be here. So I put some music on, got in the shower, wrong kind of music, and started shaving my legs and every other part. Babe, that's not the right music.
That's romantic? That's not romantic?
And so like I was already like preparing my body, right? In my mind, because for us women, it's more of a mental thing, right? Like
you got to get in that mindset.
And it's more of a mental thing. You have to mentally take yourself to that space. So, while I'm shaving, I'm like really present with myself.
Hell yeah.
And, so I'm like, okay, well, what outfit am I going to wear? And I found these pair of shorts that I haven't wore for a long time. Like I haven't been able to fit in those shorts in a long time. And they have a little slit up the legs.
They're like worn, kind of like where they're frayed.
Yes. And I didn't buy them like that, by the way.
You made them like that?
No. That's how long I've had them.
Oh, shit. They just wore out that way?
They're natural. Women pay a shitload of money for that.
Right.
But I didn't realize like they were frayed in the back where my butt is.
Your butt's hanging out.
Right. And so when I turned around, I'm like, oh, all right. Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to like these.
And I did.
And I looked for the right blouse and just prepared myself for you. And not only did I prepare myself for you, I prepared myself for me. So that I can...
You were feeling yourself?
Oh, yes. And so I had mind, body, and soul ready to perform.
Yeah.
And I missed the shit out of you.
Yeah, I missed you too. I missed all you guys.
And so I'm sharing this because a lot of times we get so busy. For you married couples or even those of you that been in a long-term relationship, we forget about the importance of keeping things spicy and keeping things hot and real in the bedroom. Because the person that we're sharing our life with we take for granted at times.
Yeah.
And the spark tends to blow out. And then you're thinking, what's going on? What happened? We used to be.
Right.
Right? And now you start living in the past versus creating the present moment, like where you are today. You forget to look back at all the challenges and the obstacles that you've been able to overcome together, which for me takes me to a place of gratitude. Like when I look at our marriage picture, our photo, it brings me so much gratitude. And I feel so much love. And I'm so proud of us because of everything that we've been through. We were young. For me, I feel like we were young when we got married. Maybe not as young as most.
No. Yeah.
Right?
I guess. Yeah. Not.
I was 30. You were what, 24? I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So it's not,
25.
I don't think that's crazy. But.
It's not, but I'm still mentally like that's
right.
still.
But we did have a lot of going on.
Right.
We had a lot going on.
But before I met you, I didn't have all those challenges and obstacles. Well, I wasn't aware, but they were more inner versus outer, right? Because my sister passed away, your grandmother passed away. Right. We ended up with 3 teenagers, 5 kids in the house at one point. There was a lot that we went through really fast, really early on in our relationship.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see when you're in it, right? It's hard to see. It's hard to see the outcome. It's hard to see, the end result.
I think it's tough because it's I just had this conversation with you about the video that I was watching, like trying to find reasons for things, right? Like why things are the way they are. Why is this happening to me? Right. And I think maybe kind of like what you're saying, it seems like all these challenges came up, right? Which when they're happening wouldn't seem like they would be a good thing. And they're not. They weren't. But they did somehow bring us closer.
Exactly.
Now, what if it was like a honeymoon? And because we had to deal with these challenges, you couldn't really reveal all the things that you were dealing with internally. And neither could I, because we had to focus on other shit.
So true.
So if it was like a honeymoon and you would have started letting that shit out and I would have started letting shit out, where would that have gone? Maybe that would have caused problems.
Wait, what do you mean? Like if we were in the honeymoon stages or?
Yes, but at the same time you were going to court stuff with CPS to try to get custody of our nephews and niece, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, I was going through like child custody stuff, going through court stuff at the same time. That was horrible. That was a nightmare, right?
Yes.
So yes, but because we were doing and I was working at that time also 2 jobs. Mm-hmm. So it's like you don't even have time to like really dig into yourself, and you're not even. Yes. We were both surviving, like lining one thing up and knocking it down. Yes. What's the next thing? Knock it down. Yes. And for me, it was go to work, go to work, go to work, go to work. Right. So if maybe we both had careers or whatever, and we meet and get married, and now we can just kind of chill together. Your shit starts coming out, my shit starts coming out, and maybe that causes problems. Yeah. Or we have to, who knows? Who knows?
We're still going through problems at the beginning. I mean, that's when the fidelity happened.
I know, but
infidelity.
That created a bond through those challenging things is what I'm saying. And then we started figuring our own stuff out.
Right.
I don't know.
No, you're right. Because I remember having almost like a breakdown. We were in the room and I was just crying. And I think this is when I found out I was pregnant with Joey. But I wasn't crying because I was pregnant. I was crying because of the stress of the situation.
Of everything adding up.
And you just like held me and you're just like, we got this. Like, we got this.
Right. I was like, all I felt like is if I keep going to work and coming home and doing what, even though I may not have been doing everything right, if I can keep doing this and you keep doing what you're doing, like we'll eventually get out of this thing. You know? Like that's just kind of how it is with everything.
I was trying to think back, like if I saw that, you know, like because when you're in it, like when you are in it, it's hard to see the end result of what you're doing.
And maybe, and maybe it's not, maybe that wasn't the thought then, but maybe that's what we know the outcome is now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Like it's not the thought back then, like if I keep doing this, we're going to get out.
Right.
But that's what we did.
Right. And so now looking back at it.
Right.
Right. Now looking back at it, man, like.
And like I said, like when you're trying to make sense of this thing or looking at it as this was a bad thing, this was a good thing, like maybe the thing that you would have thought would have been a good thing could have turned out to be a bad thing. And the thing that you thought was a challenge actually made you bond and become stronger. That's
why they say, and I am now, like I see this as well. This is a truth for me. There's no such thing as a good thing or a bad thing. It just is, because everything in life is for us, regardless of what you think. The challenges, the hard times, everything is to help us to grow, to become the person that we need to become in order to do whatever it is, you know, that we're here to do.
If that's how you take it. Only if that's how you take it. Because it is what it is. Things just are.
So either you're going to give in, right? You're going to give in to the suffering. You're going to give in to the pain, but not give up, right? Like, yeah, okay, I'm in a bad situation right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you learn.
But I'm going to work through this. Right.
Or you fail and you learn.
Right. Right. Like, what is it? Whatever challenge is in your life, question that. Whatever pain, whatever suffering you're feeling, be curious about that. Where is this coming from? And what do I need to learn? I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't do that.
If you already
in our
knew
relationship,
everything.
in you know, like in our marriage, in our parenting, in our finances, all of it. Me, you know, like, why am I feeling insecure? Why am I feeling this lack of confidence?
It's being open to possibility that you might be wrong.
And accepting responsibility, right? Like accepting responsibility. Like the reason why I am this way is because of all the decisions that I made, the action or the non-action that I've taken.
Right.
But it's so crazy because you don't see it like that when you're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see it when you're in it. And I think really what's helped me is being like going within. You and I are so different when it comes to that. Because, and maybe too, me being that way has helped you to slow down. Maybe it has helped you to listen to your thoughts. Maybe it's helped you to recognize things within.
Yeah. Yeah, you have.
And go ahead.
No, I was just kind of thinking you have definitely made me open up more to thinking about different things, like seeing things differently and maybe being more emotional, but not to
and more aware.
More emotional, more aware, but not to the point where I'm not who I am, because I still am who I am. I don't think like the main.
I am who I am.
I'm just saying, because like sometimes people feel like there is no fucking, like, you got to go one way or the other. And I'm just, the other thing that I was going to say is, like, you have opened me up to that stuff and kind of helped me, like, not to say, like, realize that it's okay or whatever.
What's okay?
I guess kind of like you said, hold that space for me or whatever, right?
Yes. Why are you mimicking me like that? No,
I'm just saying.
Just kidding.
You know, but what it is not judging
funny.
people, right?
Yeah. Or self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think there are some things that are looked at as like, oh, men shouldn't do this and women shouldn't do that. But I'm also not one of these people that don't think that men are a certain way because of the way things are. Like, it's just a man. A man is a man, and that's how they're going to be. And certain things are this way. Right. And women is the same, you know? But to say that doesn't mean that a man can't think about things and be emotional about things and feel things. It's not like you're a fucking stone all the time, right?
Yeah.
So that I've learned. And the other thing is that I'm okay with not believing what other people believe and not having to be what other people are around other people. I can be myself.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, I don't have to tell you, but if you do ask me, I will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not hiding from that.
The beat of your own drum.
And I'm okay with that.
And that's perfect. And that's perfect. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I wrote a post today, and what inspired me to write this post is Jade Beal, an amazing photographer that I met at an event that I attended 2 weeks ago. And she's called a self-radical love coach. And it's so funny because her and I are very similar. Like, we have very similar energy. And I was very attracted to her. I knew like I had to have her in my life. Like, I felt, and even before we even spoke a word, it's funny because we were sitting down and we were eating. And I always sit at tables where I don't know anyone. And immediately I looked at her and I told her, you are the definition of joy. I knew that. I didn't even know who she was, but I felt that. And she just smiled and she's like, thank you for noticing. I had no idea that she was a speaker, that she was going to be speaking on stage. I had no idea who she was, that she was the ex-wife of the individual who was actually hosting the event. I had no idea.
You just felt like you needed to tell her something.
No. I was telling, well, not that I needed to tell her something,
but
I was feeling her, like,
yeah, and you wanted to express that.
You know, I'm an empath. I feel people's energy. And so then I saw her on stage, and she is exactly that. Exactly that. And I told her, I saw you before I even knew you. And she said, yes, she did. And so she went and she did a post on self-love. And when I read it, something within me sparked. And I'm like, you know, I really need to share this post because people see me in a different light. Because I'm always happy, right? I'm always loving and supportive.
And you're going to let them in on the other side.
Yes. But I didn't always have the self-love that I have for myself today. It took me 40 plus, or it took me 4 decades to recognize me. Like, when I look in the mirror, really know the person that I see in the mirror, but also know the being connected to my soul. The truth, like the naked truth of who I am. Yeah. And so I wrote this post. I'm about to make out with the microphone over here. Almost ended up in my mouth. But it says, the biggest fight that I have overcome is the lack of self-love. As a little girl, I was fat. I was so embarrassed. I was going to put chubby, but I heard Miguel's head in my face, I heard his voice in my head. So I said fat.
People are going to say that I call you fat.
No, because you're like, say it like it is. Chubby sounds cute. Fat. You know, I heard you in my ear. No,
that was David Goggins. Why are you talking shit?
Dude, you said dude, don't tell me you don't feel that way. Anyways, can you please not interrupt my post? Let me reread all of it. As a little girl, I was fat. I was so embarrassed and always felt ugly. It affected so many areas of my life. I wouldn't speak up because I didn't want to be seen. PE was the worst. As a high schooler, I started working out at the school and continued to work out. I always enjoyed a good workout, but I was working out from a place of insecurity and lack. Dude, that was such a huge aha for me. This was recent because I had to take myself back to the younger me and ask myself, why was I working out? What was the reason for me working out every day? Was it coming from a good place?
Right. Yeah.
Was it because I wanted to be healthy? Where was that coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I realized that it wasn't coming from a good place. Sorry. Where was I? Okay, workout, but it was working out from a place. Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry. I always enjoyed a good workout, but I was working out from a place of insecurity and lack. As I got older, I was constantly taking diet pills because the gym just wasn't cutting it. I always spent hours at the gym, and whenever I ate something bad, I felt so much guilt. There were times that the guilt was so bad that I would purge after. This is something I've never shared with anyone.
Yeah.
I was on my own at the age of 18, and no one was aware of this inner fight. There's so many inner fights that we have. So many. And we're so aware because we run from it. We lie to ourselves to make us feel better.
Yeah.
We don't take time to question why we do the things we do. Why do I overshop? Why do I overdrink? Why am I always watching TV? Why am I constantly feeling like I need sex in order to feel loved?
Yeah. You know, like when you turn your phone off and you go to put it down,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go to like walk around a little bit, and it's like, I'm just gonna get my phone, and you start scrolling again.
That's another one. There's so many, especially today. It's so easy.
Right?
It's so easy. As a young adult, the struggle remained. Working out was my drug of choice. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? On the outside, it looked like self-discipline and self-care.
Right.
Everyone was like, man, how do you do that? How do you continue going to the gym? People would compliment me all the time, but I was deaf to it all. Even at 115 pounds, I did not see me. At the age of 24, I got breast implants and a baby makeover, but didn't have any children. After all this, I still didn't feel whole. I was so unaware of me and my habits. I was divinely called to start working on me. I put down the self-help books, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and tuned within. I had to take a hard look in the mirror. I started reading the Bible and books about spirituality. They all talked about stillness and turning in. I took full responsibility for my life. They all talked about the presence of now. Stillness. What that means is shutting down the TV, turning off the TV, turning off the radio, and spending time with you. And facing all the hard realities. Right?
That's what I was about to say. I mean, because a lot of times you're meditating and stuff like that, right?
Buy your own bullshit.
And I think when you're meditating or whatever, or thinking about it or what, like eventually you come to that point and it is what it is.
Yeah. It's like, it's Miguel's really good at this. You are really good. And it's so funny because it irritates the shit out of me sometimes. It's like, tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth.
Yeah.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Right? If you're dumb, you're dumb. Say it's like
but it doesn't mean you can't be fucking smart.
Goggins. It's like Goggins.
That's the thing. It's never just one-sided. It doesn't mean that you can't be smart. And just because you're fat doesn't mean you can't be in shape. You know, just
Those are the
change
things that you need to work on. So if I am jealous, okay, looking in the mirror or in stillness, why? Where is this jealousy coming from? Why am I feeling this jealousy? Why am I feeling insecure? Where is this lack of confidence coming from?
But it's just accepting life for what it is, like no matter what. Because I even had this thought. We were talking about all this stuff earlier, like the motivations for things, the like wanting to look good and all these things, and having pride in the way you look, which is kind of like a balance of stuff, of all that stuff, you know, because in a way you should love yourself for who you are, but you should want to look good and you should want to
Healthy.
be in shape.
Yes.
And like all these, there's a balance.
Right.
And I was kind of thinking to myself, I have been at one point, like on my driver's license, it said 225 pounds. Mm-hmm. And I also know that if it says 225 pounds, I might have been shaving a couple pounds off. So that's how I know I was that heavy at one point, because I remember seeing it on a scale and I didn't feel good about seeing that number, you know?
Yes.
And now because of it, I've gotten some stretch marks because I was 225 or more at one point.
Yeah.
You know, like I can lose weight, but there might be extra skin now because of what I've done to myself in the past. Mm-hmm. And for some people that might be like, I want to be in shape, but now I got this fucking extra skin. Like you see it when people go from an extreme weight, like 400 pounds, and they get down to a healthy weight. Now they have all this extra skin. And for some people that might be now you're still not happy with yourself.
Right.
But
yeah, that was kind of like what I said.
The way I look at it is like, that's my reminder of what I was able to do.
Right.
I have these stretch marks, but I'm not heavy anymore. But that reminds me that I did at one point, and look at what I've done.
That's your story. That's
it's
your backstory.
It's like my fucked up ears, right?
Yeah. That's the backstory. So, as I started to shed layers of pain and trauma, I began to love me. I started eating healthy because I fell in love with me. I realized my body is my temple, and if I want a bowl of ice cream, I eat it from a place of love. Today when I work out, it comes from a place of love. I'm in love with me. I'm worthy of all that I am.
Yeah.
I had to think about the past and how I worked out and how I felt when I worked out and how I felt when I looked in the mirror. Today, and I brought myself to where I am today. When I'm working out, I'm so full of love for myself. Yeah. Not like a cocky it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's fun. I have fun when I'm jump roping. I have fun when I'm planking and challenging myself to do more. It comes from a place of self-love, not from anger, not from, lack of self-worth or lack at all. It comes from such a good place. And when I look in the mirror, I see, the flabby arms. I see the inner thighs, but I love on those parts. I love
and you can be proud of that
part of me. It's my story.
Right.
Women, when we age, this is a huge one. Especially those of us that used our outer appearance to get the shit that we want. Right? Oh, yeah. If you don't make amends with your heart, if you don't work on self-love, you are going to have a very hard time when you age. Because beauty only lasts for so long. You have to find that beauty within. One of my friends made a comment. She's like, girl, you don't age. I'm like, thank you. I feel great. But I know I'm aging. You know, like, I appreciate, like, the wrinkles on my forehead. I appreciate where I'm at. Those are my storylines.
Yeah.
Those are my storylines.
Yep.
I've accepted that. doesn't mean that I'm just going to, stop doing everything. I love who I am.
Yeah.
But it takes time to get to that place of self-love.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And it's not just women. Men go through a very hard time. I've coached someone, a male, and I seen it. You could be, at your prime, right? When you're in your prime.
Yeah.
And you're strong and you're full of confidence and you're full of, just this masculine energy. And you're so used to doing everything. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you can't work out the way you used to work out. You couldn't do the things that you once were able to do. And mentally, if you're not at a place of self-love, you will live such an unhappy life because you're living in the past of who you were once then or who you were then.
Yeah.
Versus taking in where you're at right now and recognizing all the things you did and being proud of all of that. And now recreating yourself for this cycle of life. Like you said it very good. You said,
what did I say?
What am I going to do when I can't do jujitsu? When I can't perform and I'm not able to do jujitsu.
I'm old.
You said,
I'll teach.
I'm going to teach.
Yeah. You
there
pass
you
it
go.
down. You mentor. You have experience. You're the older, wiser one now.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. And but at the same time, though, you're saying some things and there's always a balance. But before we get into that, make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. Like we said before, you guys can find all the ways that you can follow us there. All of our social media. You can watch us on YouTube and Facebook. Share this thing with everybody that you know. Send them a clip from Facebook, from YouTube. We put out clips every week. Mm-hmm. Just send them something that you like.
This just came up very spontaneous, but we are getting stickers done, right?
Okay.
A podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta figure all that out. Yes.
All we have to do is send them the logo.
We gotta get somebody to make them. I
already have someone.
Okay, good. Then we'll do it.
But I thought it just came up. It's like we should give these all out to our listeners.
Okay.
Right?
We could do that. We got to get them made.
Yes.
Yep. So, and that will help. And then you guys can represent.
Yes.
So, but yeah, you guys can share a clip with people. And that really helps out. Tell them to subscribe, leave a comment, a rate, a review. All that stuff helps. Thank you.
Yes.
And if you guys want to support the podcast, you guys can go to our website. You doing okay? You breathing through this one?
Yeah.
You guys can go to our website, click on the support the show tab, click on that Amazon link whenever you guys buy things, and you click on that link and check out. It helps out the podcast. And another way you can support us is
you can go to buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod and donate a drink or an alcohol beverage, coffee, whatever it is. Coconut water.
Because we're being healthy right now. That's what we've been talking about.
And you can also subscribe on a monthly basis as well.
Right. So, yep. buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod. So, yes, there's got to be a balance to all this stuff. A balance.
Going through puberty.
Yes. And because you have to, it's that you like they say in the Bible, you have to have grace with yourself, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, you don't want to bullshit yourself. Because when you say like, as you get older, you can't do these things, I don't see it as not being able to do these things. I just have to change the way I do these things. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give myself an out. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you can't do this anymore. That's like you're quitting. Like, be real with yourself. Is there a way? Mm-hmm. Can you really want to do it. Like, do you want to do it? If you really want to do it and you think that you should be doing it, then sometimes the things that it may be something you don't want to do, but you know you should. Can you do it? Should you do it? You probably should do it.
Yes.
But are you bullshitting yourself like, oh, physically I can't? Or is it because you're not waking up early enough? Is it because you're limiting yourself? Maybe that's why.
Yes. No, you have to. And when you know yourself, when you know when you're bullshitting yourself.
And that's when it's time to go to bed and you don't feel good about what you've done for that day.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. For instance, I mean, I used to lift pretty heavy. These days, I love it though. I love strength training. So what I'm adding on top of that, I am stretching for at least 20 to 30 minutes, and it feels so good. I stretch 20 to 30 minutes. I also jump rope, right? So after that, I go and I do strength training.
Yeah.
I listen to my body. If I am lifting too heavy and my knees are feeling a certain way, then I take off some of the weight. You have to be in tune with who you are and what you can do and what you can't do. Because I could be egotistic and be like, no, this is the weight that I normally lift.
And I need to get better, so I'm going to put more weight.
Right. That is when you start, that's working out from a different place. That's what I'm saying. You have to know you. You have to know why you're doing the things that you're doing. Where is it coming from?
That's also like when somebody snatches up an arm bar and you're like, he's only a white belt. I can get out of this. And then they break your shit off.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's okay. Just let it go. And we'll work on that later. It's accepting what is.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
So yeah, there does have to be a balance to that stuff. So yeah, like I said, I got a chance to train jiu-jitsu when I was away in Connecticut, which I had an awesome time over there. They had an awesome school. And while I was away, I think it was the same day. While I was away, you had called me and told me that you had taken the kids to jiu-jitsu. And Joey had gotten shots that day for school. You know, and he was kind of like that he didn't want to go and roll and spar. Sparring is the hard part of jiu-jitsu when you're fighting other people. And, you know, because his arms hurt and because he got a shot. And it's like, yeah, I know, like maybe your arms feel a little like weak or dead. But I mean, you can, like I said, you can tap. Like maybe you don't feel great that day because you did get shots. But don't not do something. Like don't just not do it. You can still do it and you can tap earlier maybe if you want, but still try to fight, you know. But he just didn't want to do it. And that same day I was training in Connecticut. And sometimes when the mats are a little bit different, like you rub your knees or your feet on it and it's abrasive, like it'll tear up your skin. And it did. Dude, I got like mat burn on both of my freaking toes. It looks gross. It looks like fucking hamburger. But that was the first day. And then the next day they had another class and I wanted to go back. But at this point, because it was like freshly torn skin, you know how that gets. It starts oozing.
Ew. No, you don't have to be so detailed about it. Exactly. You know, babe, that's so gross.
You know, so like I'm sleeping, it's oozing, it's sticking to the sheets and stuff, and then it's peeling off and not letting me sleep, and it hurts. And it stings, just like scabs do when they start tearing open. And so sounds so nice.
Yeah.
And but like I'm over there for training, right? And it is gonna sting if I do go train again. So I have a pretty good excuse not to do it. But I was like, you know what? That night I went to Walmart and I bought some athletic tape so that I could tape my feet up for the next day. And I went back and I taped them up. I put electrical tape on it so that it doesn't come off. And even still during training, like it was fucking stinging. Because there is nothing you can do for that, really. Like you can try to tape it up as best you can. But it's one of these things that you're on your feet, you're moving around, you're pushing off. So the tape moves, everything moves. It stings and it starts pulling even more skin off. But man, the time that I had there at the school with the instructor, with the other students, the moves that I learned, Like, it almost feels like when I go back, I'll have friends to go back to.
That's
you know
so
what I
cool.
mean?
Yes.
So it was like the pain of the cut on my feet was nowhere near the benefit that I gained by taping it up and going back and training. You know?
Yes.
These are people that I'm going to probably end up interviewing on my podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I talk to them about it.
That's cool.
You know? So sometimes it's kind of like what we were just talking about. Sometimes these things that hurt doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. And a lot of times you should lean into that.
Being okay with, being uncomfortable. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. And another thing that I was kind of talking to you about earlier today, which I've thought about a lot of different things in different ways, but it's that where you can just little by little constantly just get better, right? You just take one step after the other. You don't have to fucking worry about what everybody else is doing. They could be faster than you right now. They could be slower. They could be faster. They could be slower. I don't give a shit about what anybody is doing on anything. If you have some experience and you've had success, I want to hear how you did it, and maybe I can apply it. But at the end of the day, I know that if I put one foot in front of the other and I don't fucking stop, I'll get there eventually.
And that is a life lesson in itself, right?
So, yeah. So there's times, and that is another way that I can get beat by people that other people might say, I don't feel this way. Like, you should have an expectation. You should beat that guy because you're this, and he's only this. I don't give a fuck. You might be a white belt and you might beat me and you might be better than me. For now. Because if you ever stop, I'll catch up and I'll pass. And the truth is that if you kept going, I'd be happy for you no matter what.
Right.
I fucking, to be totally honest, I don't roll no-gi much, but they got some scrappy fucking dudes in that school. Scrappy, but they fucking all helped me out. Like, nobody was trying to hurt me or anything, so it was fucking awesome. But today, I was rolling no-gi with this guy, and this dude fucking snatched up a guillotine on me and choked me from the back. And then after, I was like, dude, you were fucking, like, you were like a backpack, like, just all over me. I was like, that was awesome. I was like, he was like, yeah, I've been working on the back. And he was like, thanks, you know? And then I showed him something that we do here. I looked at my fucking pictures today because we were rolling no-gi and I couldn't tell what rank he was. He's a 2-stripe white belt. You know? Mm-hmm. And I hope he keeps going because he's good at it. And I would never, like, hate on that. But if he ever stops, I'll still be going. You know, it's kind of, the way I see it is like the tortoise and the hare. That's exactly what it is. I'm not going fast, but I'm going to be here forever. Like I told you about this podcast. I saw recently that there was another podcast that came out with the same name as Opposites Attract. They already hit like 200, almost 300 subscribers like us. And we've been doing this shit for 3 years. They put out like 6 videos and they haven't put one out in months already. So guess what? I'll just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And at the end of the day, and that's the thing, is that sometimes people are like, oh, well, how did it happen? You know how the fuck it happened? By putting one foot in front of the other. That's it. Don't worry about any fucking body else. Yeah. You know, and be happy for the people that are doing good.
It reminds me of the, what is it called? The turtle and
the tortoise and the hare?
The tortoise and the hare, yeah.
What I just mentioned?
Yeah. Because that's what he did.
Yeah.
That was exactly it. You know?
But not so much like as, like, if they stop, I'm going to catch. Like, it's not a competition. I never see it as a competition.
It's not coming from an egotistic
And
place.
that was the other thing that we were talking about too, is like knowing where this motivation comes from. Because I was telling you that I think a perfect example, like something to really be able to tell where your motivation is coming from, is that feeling of showing somebody that you could do something that they thought that you couldn't. Right? Because there's 2 ways that you could have the outcome where you show somebody, like somebody said you couldn't do this and you prove them wrong. Now, you could say the same exact things with 2 different emotions and they would tell you like where this motivation is coming from. Because if somebody says you can't do something and you come back at them like with a negative, like, you see, motherfucker, I fucking told you I was going to, and you're throwing it in their face. And you're like, that motivation. Yes, you got to where you wanted to get to, but that probably wasn't the best motivation to get there with.
Right.
You could have the same result. And if you had, you see, I told you I was going to make it. Check out what, like, if it comes, it's the same thing, but it comes from a positive thing. It's not like you're trying to rub it in their face and put them down with your accomplishment, right? It's you're like, hey, I fucking told you. I told you I could fucking do it. Yeah. And whatever you thought you couldn't do, you could fucking do that shit too, right? Let's go. That's a different thing, even though it's the same.
Yeah.
And and that's the only way that you can sustain doing shit, is when it's coming from that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even just competing, you could compete hard. It reminded me of that one fighter that we saw that one time. Fucking, I don't know if I'll ever forget that. When he fucking beat that one dude and he told him, "Are you proud of me now, Dad?" Or some shit like that.
Yes.
You know, like that right there shows you that the motivation for him to fight isn't coming from a good place. He's trying to prove it to his dad. He's not doing it because, like, for me, the motivation is to see what I'm capable of, to show our kids what somebody's capable of. They don't need to fight, but if they ever need an example of being able to do hard things, they can look at Dad's life and be like, Dad did some hard shit, and I know that's fucking possible. That, you know, seeing what can I get to? You know what I mean? Like, and that just to me seems like the purpose of life. Like, what can you be, right? I mean, we've been talking about this.
We are the creators of our life.
And you can compete fucking hard. Hard, because that's what you're trying to get to. That a perfect example of that, if you follow MMA, I think, is George St. Pierre. He's like one of the greatest champions ever. He is one of the nicest people. But when that motherfucker competes, he puts it on people. Yeah. But everything comes from, like, he's a student of still rolling with the best.
That's why you have to be aware of who you are, because you can be very successful in life, right? Like, be successful, but, you know, and you're constantly working, constantly improving, constantly. Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Is it coming from a good place, or is it because there's some fear of lack? Or are you trying to prove something to someone?
Right. Are you scared of losing it?
Right. And that's with everything, though. That's with everything. That's why it's so important to slow down. That's the stillness. That's taking time with you and questioning everything you do and the meaning behind everything you do. Ask yourself, is it coming from a pure place? Is it coming from a good place? And if the answer is no, then question it. Yeah. That's where all the breakthroughs in life come from. It's peeling back the layers of the onion to get to the core, your soul, what, you know, and just really doing the process, the healing process.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because once you get there, once you reveal one thing, another thing will come.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure, even though I've done a lot of work on me, that there's more to come.
It's like, yeah.
But the more you do,
that is life.
The easier it is to recognize it, to become aware of it, to heal from it. Because you're like, I've already healed from A, B, C, D. Now it's like you already know the rhythm.
It's like when you start figuring this stuff out, that's when you get to that point. Like, if you guys haven't heard of Jim Rohn, look him up and listen to anything that he's ever said, because he's fucking amazing. But he said that's where it comes from. Don't wish things were easier. Wish you were better. Mm-hmm. And when you start realizing that you can get better, Like, it's like, yeah, I don't need things to be easier. Like I can become more powerful. I can become a better version of myself and be able to accomplish more.
Right.
You know? And that's it's like, it's habits. Yeah. Habits like everything else. Because the more you're in that mindset, the easier it is to be in that mindset, the easier it is for you to accomplish things. That becomes a cycle.
It's your subconscious patterns, things that you continually do without being aware that you're doing it. And it could be passed down from past generations. Maybe it's something that your mom taught you or something, or did. You watched it, you witnessed it, and then the habit became your habit. Many times that's the case.
And that's when those moments, I guess, right, happen. Like hopefully one of those moments happen that allows you to snap out of your routine for a second, long enough to have you be aware.
Yeah.
And maybe hopefully you're listening to this and this will give you that moment or that reset.
Yeah.
Like that you've been running on fucking autopilot, doing the same shit over and over and over. And you got to create that new habit.
Change your paradigm shift, right? And this is something that I kind of stopped being aware of. But, you know, when I go to the gym, I take the same route every day, or, you know, sleeping on the same side of the bed, or brushing my teeth with my left hand versus my right hand, like just shifting everything, all the things that you're used to doing. Start it with the little things. Start, you know, changing the paradigm with the little things, like brushing your hand or brushing your teeth with the opposite hand, eating with the opposite hand.
Yeah.
You know, just get yourself out of your routines.
To make you more present?
Yes.
Gotcha. That's good. That's awesome. So, yeah. Speaking of all this health stuff, I was telling you earlier, man, we've had like 2 or 3 podcasts since I've been out of town. We have already talked like 2 or 3 podcasts before we even started this one. But I was telling you, I was talking to Joey and the kids about like knowing like what things are made out of, like that they're putting in their body, you know, like just looking at foods and understanding like what is this, what type of food is this? Is this like a protein,
Starch.
Fat, carbs, sugar, like what? And just like having them understand like health wise, how your body works and like how, and what you're putting in it. And like, you know, really like what fat is, like not talking down about it, or just like really what it is, like it's stored energy on your body, you know? And I was kind of breaking it down to Joey, and it's like how the purpose of that, and also how you can lose it and why you should lose it, and, you know, just how eating affects your body, and how like if you're trying to lose weight, maybe try to cut back on the carbs and sugar so that your body can burn the fat that's on your body and uses that for energy instead of what you're eating, right? And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, and if you want to gain some muscle while you're doing it, you can have some protein because that helps build up your muscles, you know, but not just like, hey, you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't eat that. It's just so that they can kind of really understand it and take it in, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That is something that I didn't hear much about when I was a little girl.
Yeah.
Right. It's not something that we talked about at the table or talked about ever.
Yeah.
You know,
dude, it's been so crazy because like for you said that wasn't really talked about much. The only person that really talked about it in my life was my dad, because like I said, he used to fight and he did watch his health. Like I remember fucking drinking raw eggs and shit, like protein shakes. Like when Rocky was out when I was a kid, he's like, I don't know if he was like Rocky did this and he fucking would drink one and then I would drink one as a kid. I was like, all right. And, but I do remember him doing push-ups and like he was always working out and doing athletic stuff. But even still back then, I remember him talking about like you should eat this and this and this. And some of those things were based off of like the food pyramid stuff. And it wasn't right back then.
Right.
You know, and then
crazy.
as information has changed over the last freaking 20 years or whatever, or 30 years, he's kind of had a harder time shifting his mindset about like what was healthy, what's what people say is healthy now, and it's always confusing. Like, because when you start getting into all that stuff, you like fish. Is fish good? Well, it's destroying the planet, and like, who the fuck knows?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is more information now, and I think the safe bet is always, if you know what the hell's in what you're eating, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Like, if you can tell, it's okay. Well, this is a couple ingredients, natural ingredients, like, you know, freaking lettuce and fucking, well, lettuce is not great, but kale, and that's delicious. I'm just saying. Not that it's,
Yes.
you just got to do what you got to do, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah. And with that, thank you guys for being with us. We've had a blast talking to you guys about the motivations of why people do what they do and being healthy and all that stuff. It's been fun.
Yes. Thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your support. And thank you for watching Opposites Attract podcast.
Where we get better
together.
Bye.
Bye.